Alright, so now we're on to the next phase of the barn door, which is making our own hardware. At the time when I bought all this hardware, barn doors were, selling like hotcakes at all of the big factory outlet stores. So some of this hardware could run upwards of $300, and I just thought that was outrageous. So what I did was I just bought a couple steel bars, some pulleys, and we're going to make our own hardware here. So what I did, this piece here was a 36-inch by 1.5-inch wide steel bar that I just cut in half. So we got two roughly 18-inch long pieces, and then what we're going to do is this will end up being about right here, and then we're going to bend the end so it comes all the way over, and that way we can stick a bolt right through there, and we can make two of our sliding brackets. And then at the top here, this is just a 2-inch wide steel bar that I'm going to cut down to 56 inches, which is a little bit more than twice the width of the door that we're going to close up. And it's relatively simple to do. I already did it on the one barn door inside. Basically, you just stick it in a vise, you get the bend going, and then once it's about halfway bent, you can pretty much just use your weight and push it down, and then if need be, you just get some pliers and then you push it right down on there. I'll show you that. But I mean, in order to cut through the steel bar, I just had a little hacksaw here, which worked out well. I didn't even have the vise attached to anything, and I was still able to cut through it maybe a minute or two. Once you get it going, that's the hardest part. But we're going to go ahead and cut down the other bar here to 56 inches, and then I'll show you how we bend them over and make our own brackets. Alright, so like I was saying, the hardest part is just getting it going, and what I do is just keep drawing the saw back until you get a nice little slit going, and then you can try and start going back and forth with it. And there you have it. Sometimes I'm still amazed at how well these hacksaws cut through metal. Just doesn't seem like it should be possible sometimes, but there you go. Wasn't that difficult. So for bending these bars to hold on the pulleys, right here I have a 3-inch pulley. Well, my vise just happens to be like a pretty perfect length. So from the bar that is right down in here up to the top is exactly 2.5 inches, which works out perfect for when you bend it. I know that when I put in the next bar, that if I push it all the way down to the bottom there and I just start bending, it should theoretically have the same bend point for both pulleys, and that way when I put these on the door, they should line up evenly. So just be careful when you go to bend over the brackets for the pulleys, that you start your bend point exactly at the same distance for both of them. Otherwise, you're going to be off on your heights of your brackets. So I'll point that out when we get the door going. I just wanted to show you how I did this here real quick. I already started bending this one. You get it about halfway in the vise, and then you can start bending it all the way around. Basically what you'll do is you'll put the tire in there, or the pulley, and then you'll just continue to bend it around. But this one I haven't really started to bend yet, so just stuck it down once again all the way down to the middle screw that's inside the vise, and then I just put the arm on it, and then just kind of bend it around. And now what you'll get, it should be roughly the same. I've bent this last one a little bit longer, but you'll see, I mean, look how close they are to your bend point. That's why it's important to make sure you start that bend at the same level for both of them. Otherwise they won't line up when you go to stick the wheels in there. You know, if you don't measure that bend, you could have one that's way up there and the other one, and then you'd either have to cut them again, try and straighten them back out and make them look right. But there you have it. So depending how thick your pulley is, as you can see, mine's pretty skinny here, you're going to have to bend this bar a lot tighter. So when you first bend the bar, it's going to be, you know, it's going to be pretty wide bend. To get that far, I just put it down on the ground like so, and then just kind of pushed on it, and it just bent right over. But now, in order to get this bend a little bit tighter, so the pulley will fit in there nicely, I just put a piece of wood in there. That's probably a 3/4 inch piece of wood, and then I just stuck it back in the vise right at the tip of the bend, and then I just cranked down on it hard, and as you can see, the bar starts to level out with the piece of wood, and that'll be just about as far as I want it to go. That'll leave it with a little bit of play when I go to stick the pulley in there. As you can see, it's pretty close. So that'll give it a little bit of room to be able to stick that pulley in there, and you know, drill through it and get it going. And there you have it. Both of them bent, and I'd say that that's pretty daggone good. They are within about 1 millimeter of each other on the bend. I mean, you can't even see the second one down in there. Exactly the same length. So all it takes is a vice grip, and I'm sure you could probably use pliers too. Piece of wood, and a little bit of time. You know, you want to take your time with these bends and make sure that they're perfect. Otherwise, you know, it won't look good when you get it up on the door. So it probably took me about 5 minutes for each one. Just taking my time, you know, and as the bend starts to take shape, you want to move it out farther and farther, so you're just doing, you know, the point and making sure that goes. Because if you leave it all the way in here, I mean, you can see this isn't exactly parallel. You know, the bottom part there is not. It's going towards the bar a little bit. But as you bend it, you want to move it down towards the point, so you try and keep it as parallel as possible. That way when you stick this pulley in there, that'll also line up parallel once you get a nut and some bolts on the ends. Alright, so now we've got one of the brackets drilled for the pulley. By all means, everybody, please go over, check out my equipment review of the 8-inch drill press that I got from my grandfather. It'll show a demonstration of the holes I just put in. One thing I will mention, if you do drill through you know, steel like this, please wear safety glasses. These little shards of metal, if you can see them all over the ground and stuff, they do shoot up pretty high. So please wear safety glasses. But I will say, you know, the drill press works great. You know, went right through that. You know, I got that holding it on, and then, you know, a piece of wood drill. That way you'll get a nice even drill right through the middle, and you won't compress your bend any worse. You don't want to bend that. You don't want to bend, you know, the long piece of metal at all, because it'll mess up the door. On the first door that I did, it did screw it up just a little bit. So we'll just go ahead and do this one for you, I guess, real quick. And there you have it. First side is done. And then I'll just keep drilling right through the piece of wood. And we'll go down and go right through the other side. Alright, to save time on this video, went ahead and drilled the 2 holes for the bolts that will hold it onto the door. Bottom were 1.5 inches and the tops were 7 inches from the bottom, that is. Next up, we're going to drill holes in the cross beam that the track and the door will slide on. I went in, I measured, I think I have about 3 studs I'm going to hit, so that should be plenty. 2 inches, 16, 29, 42.5, and 55. So from the right hand side, 2 inches, 16, etc., all the way to the end. Just going to go ahead and use the drill press and we'll get these holes cut out. So I went ahead and got these pieces all spray painted up. You know, it all came out looking nice. Just let that dry. Spray paint I'm using for this steel is Rust-Oleum Satin. Says it's, if it zooms in for you, says it works on metal, wood, and more. But it seems to do a lot better job than just the you know, cheap stuff that I bought from Home Depot. It's just a quick color, fast drying. This stuff just doesn't seem to stick on as well. So once this dries, we'll start putting the door together and start putting these up. Alright, so now I've got the top beam up. Just gives extra support for the lug nuts that'll go in there. And then what we got for the hardware so far, you're going to have 10 washers. I'm using, these are actually pipe fittings in the plumbing section of my hardware store. They're going to be the spacers, and that should give, whoops, that'll be the spacer that's like in between the piece of wood and the steel track. And then, as I said, we'll just get these screws. They're pretty big screws, so they'll definitely take hold pretty good, and that should give me enough support. And then we'll just kind of go in. So what I did for the top beam, I just got that going, and then I put a level on top of that and just screwed it all in. Alright, we're about to put the pulleys on the door here. I just wanted to warn you guys of a couple things. So I had this bracket, and that's going to be used as the track for the bottom of the door to make sure it stays against the wall. And this bracket just happens to be the same width as that piece of metal up there. So when you go to drill these holes for your wheels, make sure that when you put this, try and hold this with my knee here, hold on. When you go and put this wheel on, make sure you drill your holes so you'll be able to get over that piece of metal. So otherwise you won't be able to get your door on. So what I did, if I put that right where my holes are, this piece of metal should be able to just slide right up under there. Hold on, they're a little bit off. So it'll be able to just slide right under there, which will be the same as if I slide it right onto the track. So just be careful of that. I just used my Craftsman drill to go ahead and just drill those right here in the bathroom area. We'll clean up the mess later, but just wanted to give you guys a little tip. Alright, so there you have it. One more project complete. The only thing I'll have to do now is put a handle on, and then like I said, this little track will go right down here at the bottom, and that'll hold the door to the wall. Obviously I'll put it on the other side so you know, it'll actually work. But there you have it, a barn door. And I would say overall time, probably 10 or 11 hours. I mean, if you don't count dry time for the paint, it would probably take a lot less than that. But overall it's not too bad. The actual assembly part, putting the beam across and the tires and everything, that didn't take more than about a half hour. And then your staining takes probably the most. But otherwise, I mean, very simple do-it-yourself project. If there's people out there wondering, you know, can I actually make my own barn door? You can. So please subscribe, like the video, and we'll see you next time.